Welcome back to the Aohudis podcast, episode 33. Today, we're going to be discussing the Epstein files. Is Trump on the Epstein files? I have no idea, but we might figure it out in this hour and some change. Over to you, Owen.
All right, so that's a good question, right? I've been thinking about this a lot, and I'm going to straight up say right now, I don't think that America's going to figure out until like 50 years where the FBI releases these classified files, and they're like, yep, we did all those scandals. That was totally, blah, blah, blah. But man, it is insane to me how much it's blown up, and just I think people are more worried about the response from the government than they actually were about the files themselves. I mean, first off, obviously I'm talking about Jeffrey Epstein here, right? Horrible person. I mean, he was multi-billionaire that had this island. You guys know the story.
For those who don't know, let's give a
quick
brief.
TLDR. Jeffrey Epstein was this billionaire who had this private island that he would traffic young women into, and he had this sort of ring of perpetrators that would help him do it, and eventually he got arrested and he faced horrible charges, and people figured out, like, okay, this is a multi-billionaire. He had multiple very rich friends, very influential people that were going onto the island with him, and so people immediately were like, who were those people? Because who went on those islands? Because that's a very incriminating thing. Like, you went on to Jeffrey Epstein's island multiple times. That's incriminating. So that's what formerly sort of came known as the Epstein list, like the Epstein list. People are essentially interested in like the flight logs who went to that island. And so eventually Epstein went and he got himself he prosecuted, and he went to jail, I think for life. It had to be for life. I mean, it might have been for like 30-something years, but a couple of years in jail, he ended up, what was told to the public was that he had killed himself. So I believe he hung himself in his cell, which was interesting because he was on suicide watch. I mean, he was in I don't think he was in solitary confinement, but he was supposed to be on suicide watch. And ever since then, there was always the conspiracy of Jeffrey Epstein never killed himself, somebody else killed him, right? And you hear those memes all the time, like Epstein didn't kill himself. And then we finally, after a lot of people pushing for it, we get this response when Trump was running for office, right? There was a question that people had asked him. They had asked him, will you actually release the list if you get into presidency? And he says, yeah, you know what, sure, I will release the list. And there's videos of this as well. I mean, you can look this up. It's a proven thing. He said when he was campaigning, I will release the list. And he gets to office, and they say, because everybody's still interested in it, and you're like, okay, you're president now, release it. He gets his Attorney General, Pam Bondi, to say, she goes to the news and she says to the public, we have the files. The files are on our desk.
Yeah.
Thousands of pages of files. It's not just that people are interested in the files. They're interested in everybody that was, like, all the evidence that people were working with Epstein. So what's sort of interesting is Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, which was his wife, I believe, right? Or
I'm not sure.
I believe his wife. So Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, they were prosecuted for the crimes. Mm-hmm. But what I understand is it wasn't just them two that were doing this whole entire operation. You know what I mean? So these two people were prosecuted for the whole thing. But what a lot of people are interested in is not just who were influential people that went on flights to the island itself. It's also who was working with him that was also a perpetrator in the act. You know what I mean? And so there's a lot more information than just the list.
When they said that the Epstein files don't exist, what did they mean by that? The flight log?
Well, so I'll get to that point. I wanted to first go through like the TLDR of what the supposed story is, and then we'll go into like our own thoughts and what we think about the things that happen. You know what I mean? So, I mean, we're at the point where Pam Bondi said, okay, I'll be wider here. I think she said the files, but I'll say she had said that she has a case on Epstein. She has all those case files. I think she said that. And I suggest you guys go out and do your own research. I mean, these when they talk, it's all out there, so it's all public information. Mm-hmm. And Kash Patel is the FBI director. He goes on Rogan, and I'm not sure when on the timeline that was, but there was also it was essentially like, I believe it was a publicity stunt. You can see the pictures up there. It's people walking out of the White House, right, with a binder that genuinely says Epstein Files, like Part 1 on it. And so they were doing this to be like, hey, yeah, we have it, we'll release it,
Yeah.
right? Which is interesting to me.
Crazy.
Right, and so this is the public view, right? So the public, after a couple of weeks, they said, hold on, we have thousands of files here. We're going to come back and review it. And I think this is fair, but you can make your own judgment. We're going to stop, and we don't want to hurt the victims, so we're going to make sure we read through this and get it to you guys right. And that was their way of saying, like, okay, we're going to give us a couple of weeks, we'll get it out. A couple of weeks go by. I mean, people realize there's still really no updates on the Epstein files. And so we eventually get some information, which is essentially a camera recording of Epstein's cell, which was supposed to be a big thing, because people were really interested in this.
Mm-hmm.
So we get this camera recording of his cell, and the main camera that actually showed his cell was down for the whole time that we could have seen it, which is what people say is crazy timing, right? I mean, normally it's wild. But not just that, his roommate, his cellmate, right, moved out like a day before he actually quote unquote killed himself.
Mm-hmm.
And so those two together, and plus some other aspects of the video, like you can see that they cut some minutes of the video, like the timer changes a little bit, and that kind of together led people to believe, like, he may not have killed himself, somebody may have gone in and killed him. And people, I think, got a little bit frustrated at that, because they were like, we waited months and we finally got information, and it kind of gave us nothing. And so this is kind of where the outrage really started to go, and this is the more recent outrage that started to go. And so Trump, actually on the Truth Social, he posted, he said essentially that the files were made up by Democrats, and which I think is not, he essentially said, these files, they're made up by Democrats. It's this hoax that doesn't exist, and now everybody's trying to say, like, Trump might be on the files, and that's kind of the big, I guess, talking point now, is Trump's probably on the files. And now you'll see all these posts where people are trying to talk about Trump's friendship with Epstein, and they're trying to extend that as far as it can go, and make their own insinuations off of that. And I mean, I believe that's where we're at now, is they believe it's not real, and people are trying to prove that he was on the files. And that's essentially the story of the public view in kind of chronological order. I mean, you definitely deep dive farther into that. I mean, this is a very important topic, and it's something you should do your own research on. But I mean, I just want to make that clear. Like, we have our own opinions, and then there's the actual facts out right now, and those two are very different.
Yeah.
So that's definitely something to keep in mind.
What are some of your own opinions?
I'd like to think that I'm sort of like you. I try to be more nuanced in it. Like, I can only have the information that I have. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting to me that, and this is again my opinion, right? It's interesting to me that it seems like they said they had the files, and then to the 180 switch to the point where all of a sudden they don't have the files. It doesn't really exist. It was made up by Democrats. And now I will say, I think a good point that he made was, if the Democrats had it, why didn't they release it? I think that's a great point, you know. But I've seen a lot of what I think is maybe deflection from the government. I'm just a little bit worried about that. I mean, why haven't they released it, I mean, what is on that shouldn't be in public view? Mm-hmm. I don't really think anything. I'm a big proponent to transparency. Mm-hmm. So I think a lot of these things should be released. And what I'm more focused on isn't actually the flight logs themselves, but actually who else was involved in the not in the acts, but in the trafficking. Because this is my opinion, I don't think it was actually just Epstein and Maxwell that were the only two people doing it. And that's
that.
I really think, I mean, first off, I mean, it was a pretty big operation. And this is the part where, like, we get to, I haven't done hours and hours of research on this. I have done my fair share, but I don't have enough to, like, give specific names. And so when I think about that, I think that it's truly, like, it's too big of an operation to do just two people. I mean, he's a billionaire. Like, he must have paid other people to help him out with all this stuff. And that's just what I believe. I don't think that he's the sole perpetrator like they're saying. And actually, just recently, Ghislaine Maxwell got a not a pardon, but it's called, what is it, qualified immunity or something immunity, where essentially she can go and talk to the FBI and she can say everything that happened and she won't be put in jail for longer. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And so there's a specific name for it, but it's a type of immunity, and I think that's a good thing. You know, I mean, she can actually say what's out there without fear of going to jail for longer. But I'm a little bit worried that her incentive is to, like, is to be on Trump's side, as in you'll notice her posts from her lawyers too is sort of like, please work with us, President Trump, you know, because he actually, what's interesting is he has the full presidential power to give her a full pardon. And I wonder if that's what she's going for. I mean, in my mind, I like to think about it incentives wise, like what are they really going for, and that kind of explains their actions. I think she's going, like, her main goal is to get out of prison, like to get out of these years of things. So in my mind, I would think that she would try to stay on Trump's side because he has the power to get her out of prison. You know what I mean? I don't see any other way that she can do that. So that's just what I think. I'm a little bit worried that she would have the incentive to not tell the full truth. And I guess I mean, do you really think that Trump had a big part on the island? Like, do you think Epstein and Trump are as close as people say?
I do. And most of that's speculation based on the evidence that I've seen. But I do. I think that, you know, we've seen the pictures of them together. They run in the exact same circles. They're the exact same, like, everything. And the fact that Trump was probably the way he's acting, the way he's handling it, the way he's done a complete 180, and just past behavior also. Like, we've seen, you know, clips of him from a while ago, the way he used to talk about women, and things like that, and all of that does point to he probably was pretty involved. It makes no sense why they did a complete 180. Like, the Epstein files doesn't exist. It was a thing by the Democrats. Like, you'll notice what Trump does this a lot, and it can be frustrating for me as a what's the word? Not civilian. Citizen. That's the one. Citizen. As a citizen, he will just completely lie with no like, he'll say things with no basis in reality just because, just to say things, and that can be really frustrating because it means that nothing he says ever has any weight at all. Like, there's changing your opinion and then there's saying a completely opposite thing in the next rally you went to. You know what I mean? And so my thoughts right now are, yeah, he probably was. He probably was heavily involved, and I think that, yeah, he probably was.
Yeah. I mean, with the information that's given, I pretty much reached the same conclusion too.
Yeah.
I do cast out a lot of the media posts that I see nowadays. Like, for example, there was a recent New York Times journal that had allegedly found evidence that...
I thought it was Wall Street.
Wall Street Journal, I'm sorry, yeah, you're right, it was Wall Street Journal. It was Wall Street Journal. They had allegedly found evidence that Trump had sent Epstein a birthday card, and it had, you know, encrypted messages in it, and you could go see those messages. And I think that is a little bit of a stretch. I don't without evidence. I don't think that's really something that we
Sure.
can really use as basis in our conclusions. And
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of people are quick to jump on the bandwagon, and I think that's where the nuance comes from. It's like you can only take the information as it is. I mean, you need
Yeah.
proof for
You know
that.
what I find really interesting about this whole Epstein files situation is how Trump's own followers are turning on him. I find that so interesting. Like Trump is invincible to these super Trump people. Not that I'm like super anti-Trump. I'm not. But like to these super like MAGA, like that group, like they worship the guy. Like he's everything. He can say anything and they'll believe it. But with this, like when Trump said the famous of like why does everybody care about the Epstein files anymore? You know what I mean? Freaking everybody was against him for that. Like everybody, like even like Charlie Kirk, who was like a big Trump guy. He was like, yeah, that's probably not the move. Like
Yeah.
that's probably not it. So I find it really interesting how everybody's turning against him on this.
Yeah, I totally agree. And then the two things of that is one is I think it's crazy that he's suing Wall Street Journal. He's suing a lot of these organizations that are like trying to come out
I don't
against
know,
him.
bro. He's acting pretty
Yeah.
suspicious.
And second is on his Truth Social posts. I mean, he says this. This is a paraphrase, but if you're not followers of mine if you're still on that Epstein
Yeah,
files.
he's like he does this. He's done this before. He's done this all the time where he like
My past supporters.
yeah, exactly. He'll attack your character. He won't attack the evidence. He won't attack anything. He'll attack you.
Yeah.
Like you are bad if you believe this thing. The Democrats are bad. They're not good people, and people who follow me are good people. You know what I mean? And so he does this where he attacks people's character. Like, well, I don't want to be a bad person. Well, I don't want to. And then you know what I mean?
I guess. Yeah.
And so it's very interesting.
Yeah, it's crazy to me that a post about the Epstein files can turn into 90% of it is just crapping on Democrats.
Yeah,
That's wild to
yeah.
me. I mean, just that's crazy. I mean, I don't even think that he thinks we're stupid. I just think that he knows we can't do anything about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's horrible, man. That's crazy to me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm curious what the outcome of this is going to end up being, because when I think about it, it kind of reminds me of like Nixon and the Watergate scandal.
Mhm.
I mean, he eventually ended up getting impeached for that too.
Yeah.
So I don't know. If he doesn't release these files, I mean, what's going to happen? I mean, at this point, bro, even if he does release, even if the organization does release some large list of files, like I feel like a lot of people are gonna think that it's doctored anyways. Like, if Trump doesn't, and I'm not saying I believe this, but if Trump doesn't show up on the files, I think there's still gonna be a majority of people who are just like, oh yeah, he took Trump off of the files. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so
and
no
then
matter
if the
what he
trials are
does-
released and Trump's on it, there's going to be some people who are like, "Oh, that's fake too."
Yeah.
Trump's going to say that. He's like, "Well, it's fake."
Right.
It's not
right.
me.
It was made up by Democrats.
If it's something that goes against Trump, it's fake. It doesn't
Mhm.
exist. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You see him do that all the time, for better or for worse. You see him do it all the time. Or if it's against him, it's fake. For
Right.
the most part.
I mean, I think he's just waiting for this to blow over. I mean, that's crazy
Yeah, I
to
mean,
say,
it,
but
it probably will eventually.
maybe.
Probably. Like I can't imagine in a year people will still be on this.
Yeah. I mean, if he makes it a full year and nothing's happened yet, I think he should be good for the rest of the
Yeah,
presidency. I think even if he makes it like at this point 6 months, he should be good for the rest of the presidency.
Mm-hmm. What do you mean by makes it? Like, what's the pressure? Like, what is he being forced to do if he says the files don't exist?
I mean, my first thought would be impeachment. I mean, what really else is there to do other than there are legal paths, and people are doing that, as in forcing the House to release the files. Like
Mhm.
there's the push from the Democratic Party to release the files, and hopefully that makes its way through the legal system, and the Judiciary Committee is like, yeah, sure, we'll force them to release the files.
Mhm.
Maybe that'll happen. And what's interesting is there's even it's even turned into a bipartisan vote where there's actually Republicans now voting to release the files too. So
Yeah.
that might actually happen. But if that doesn't happen, that doesn't go through, and there's no legal way to force them to open up the files.
I feel like
I'll-
it'd
I don't really see any.
Yeah.
I mean, it's either we forget about it or we keep talking about it. But the only other thing that people can do is like what, protest or try to impeach them. I mean,
Yeah.
or I mean, I guess both. You know, because what else can you do? I don't know if you can't force them legally to release the files. It's crazy to me. I'm a, like I said, you know, I'm a big guy in transparency.
Yeah.
And so I think this sort of stuff should be open. I'm totally with protecting the victims, but I don't think you should be shielding behind the victims as an excuse to not use it.
Mm-hmm.
You know. But you know, the other big thing I want to say is don't hop on bandwagons. Do your research. Try to, like you said, you know, there's nuance to this stuff, and almost everybody that's talking about it has an agenda. So it's just do your own research and
Yeah.
make your own conclusions, kind of like we have.
It's tough to do your own research because everything's so like pretty much everything is biased.
Yeah.
While you were doing research on this, how did you find getting through that and getting to the straight facts?
I that's a great question. For the most part, I try my best to not really. I guess I try my best to, and it's impossible to fully do, but avoid mainstream media, and not even mainstream media, but just media online. And normally, if I look something up that I'm interested in, I'll go to the media, and I'll immediately scroll and find their sources, and that's where I'll actually do my research at. I try to stick towards not believing but reading like the actual government posts. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like I'm just going to NBC and being like, Trump said that he would do this in this most recent post.
Headline,
I mostly kind of not in one ear out the other, but I take that with a very, very heavy chunk of salt, right?
Yeah.
And so I'll scroll down. Let's see how much they've twisted that message. I'll check the message itself, and then I'll read that. And that, of course, has an agenda as well.
Yeah.
And so it's not that you just go to the source and immediately believe what the source says. You go to the source, and that's what you use to base your conclusions on. You know, so that's a big part of it is doing that. Also, trying to avoid opinions until you've made your own opinion on the topic. I know a lot of people will either like go straight to a YouTube video about having somebody talk about what's going on and their opinions being posted on that, and I try to avoid doing that, you know, for you guys too, because I don't want to be a hypocrite in that. I try to say do your own research, but not even that. But I'll see people do that, and they'll go to a video, and then before the video is like even a minute in, they'll go to the comments and start reading those, and then by then you're forming your opinion based off of the comments in the video before you've even seen the end of the video or what the sources are or anything like that. And so that's a big one too, is, you know, first find the sources that, as hard it is to do, you know, aren't trying to twist the message, that are trying to actually just display the facts, and then form your own opinion on those before you go out into the world and really go into that. And I don't want to say form an opinion and just close off there, because I think it's great to go out and hear other people's opinions. That's very important. But, you know, get your own structure of how you understand it, and then go out and do it before.
So you're saying form your own opinion before you, like after you look at the sources, form your own opinion?
Yeah. I mean, just try not to have other people's opinions forced down your throat. Maybe that's not the best way to put it, but you kind of know what I mean.
Back to this sources thing.
Yeah.
So you said that like how can you tell if a source is being unbiased?
How can I tell if a source is being unbiased?
Yeah.
A source that is unbiased tends to, well, first off, I mean, I know it's not as black and white as this is, but I mean, sticking straight to actual verifiable facts, right? Like, for example, I mean, the Wall Street Journal Post, like, they don't actually have evidence for what they did. And so that's...
They don't?
No, so they don't actually have, like, they said they got it from somebody, but they don't actually have the birthday card. Like, they were only able to tell you what they saw from the card.
Oh.
Which is,
okay.
and that's one of those examples of like, okay, you may be telling the truth, but I have to I have to take that with a grain of salt because you don't have any sources for that. You don't have any evidence based on that.
Do you think there's any merit at all by going on the TikToks, the Instagrams, the YouTubes, and looking after you've already done your own research and then looking up like the YouTube videos on it?
Yeah, I think so. So it's kind of like what I was saying earlier is, go and form that initial opinion, but that doesn't mean you should like block yourself off to everything that people are saying. Um, it's also, I know a lot of people will watch one video on it and that's their entire opinions based off of that one video. And so first off, it's just like do more research. You know what I mean? Like go to multiple different okay sources, and that gives you a better one. But I think there is merit to going on TikTok and Instagram and seeing, okay, well, away from my opinion, I mean, what is the public view in
The
this?
general consensus, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like, how is the public reacting to this type of information? And normally, of course, it's the ones that made it that are the most radical and opinionated. Those are the ones that end up a lot of times going pretty big. But it really gives you I think there is merit into seeing what the public view is like. You know. What I mean?
I find it interesting when like there's this like joke that at like Thanksgiving dinner you never bring up politics, you know what I mean, because people get upset.
Yeah.
And I always find that the reason that is because people have their identity and their opinions, and so they get upset when somebody's challenging their identity. It's like they're saying, if somebody says they hate Trump, it's like now they're saying I hate you. You
Right.
know, like it's their identities wrapped up in this individual, and so it's just really hard for me to be able to because I feel like it's so beneficial to have those discussions because people know things you don't, etc. And so like, how do you go about having those conversations with friends, family, when you don't want to offend anybody, but you do want to challenge them and them challenge you and have a discussion about it?
That's a good question. The first thing I want to say is you can't always speak your opinions without the risk of offending people.
Mm-hmm.
So, you can. It's okay to go out and have people not like what you say. That shouldn't be a reason to not say it. But a big thing that actually me and my friends always try to do is there's times at the end of political discussions where will genuinely end like it's okay to disagree. It's okay to disagree on this topic. We'll end it here, and so. Go even before starting the conversation. That's a big one in our minds. It's like, okay, even if we talk about this and we disagree on the topic, it's not going to ruin my relationship with the person. It's just going to help me expand my own knowledge on the topic itself. So that's a big one. Is first off, you shouldn't be going for it, but don't be terrified of offending people. Of your own opinions, and it's okay to disagree. And though I mean those are the two big ones for me. Is if you got those two, and then I guess the third one would be actually come with like verifiable sources. Actually,
Mm-hmm.
if you're talking about topics that can be proven, it's normally like if you're giving me an opinion and you give me actual proven answers to why that's true. It's hard for me to really be offended at you. So a big part of it is come with sources, come with reasons why that's the case.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you can't convince the other person, if you've got a good case, and they're offended by that, it is what it is.
Yeah, I find that sometimes and I mean I think you probably more than even politics, you see this in the religious space where someone will come with evidence, and then let's say I come to somebody, or let's say somebody comes to me with evidence. This evidence is verifiable, it's measurable, it's pretty much fact. They come to me with it, and now because let's say that I have my identity wrapped up in this other belief that's now being challenged, and so I get either offended or worried that my belief is now maybe it's wrong, and so I deflect, and now I say things like, well, that evidence isn't real, or that evidence is fake, or well, I haven't seen that before, or things like that. Why do you think people do that? Why do you think people wrap their identities so deeply in politics? Like I understand religion, right? But like, why politics? Like why Trump? Why MAG? Why does MAG even exist?
It's a good question. I'd say the first part is some people take, I mean, this is, sort of sounds obvious, but people take this very, the first obvious one to me would actually be like echo chambers online. And I know I talk about this a lot, but genuinely, when you hear your opinion like echoed back to you through multiple months or multiple years, right? Like your For You page, your phone is always telling you these same opinions. You start to get the opinion of, okay, the entire public, like they believe in what I believe. The important people that I'm looking at actually believe what I believe. So the people who don't believe in what I believe are maybe lesser people, and so it's to the point where they're almost like on a pedestal because of the opinions that they have. So they're like, because I believe in these opinions, I'm right, and these other people are less than me, and so it almost is, already ingrained in their identity, as in like I'm right and you're wrong, you're less than me, and so it's
Like
almost
people want to feel superior.
yeah. Yeah, I think that's a part of it. I don't think that would be in the actual like conscious mind. I don't think that they're thinking about that, but I think that subconsciously they like the feeling of
Being
being
right.
superior, and so they sort of form their mindset based around that subconscious feeling of being superior. I think that's definitely a part of it. Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, that's a good question. Why do people wrap up their identities so much in their opinions?
I can understand why they'd wrap it in. Well, yeah, like if you're, like, I've always wondered this because this has always been my natural inclination. Has been like, if I'm wrong, I want to know. You know what I mean? Like, if the evidence says something different, like, tell me. Like, I don't want to be wrong. You know what I mean? But I feel like with a lot of other people, they'll see evidence that goes against their beliefs, whether it's politics, religion, whatever, and then they'll like be like, well, I'm still right, but now I have to deal with this evidence. Like now I have to, like, I have this belief, but there's this bucket of evidence that says something different, and so now I have to work my way around this evidence to still believe what I believe despite this evidence, rather than letting the evidence take you to where it takes you. Like Dan McClellan talks about this a lot, but like let the data lead you to the conclusion, not stick to the conclusion and then find the data. I find it really interesting when people say like, this is super interesting to me. Like people will say things like, I already believed this thing, and then after looking at the data, I'm even more certain about this thing. So like, I heard an infamous like Tom Cruise interview when he got like this was very controversial, but he said like, I already I think he was talking about antidepressants, but go watch the interview. I have no idea. He was like, I was before I looked at the evidence, I was already against antidepressants, but after looking at the evidence, I'm even more certain. When I hear that, I'm like, it sounds to me that there was a presupposition there of we'll use the antidepressant example of antidepressants are bad, and now you looked at the data with that bias. And it's so easy. It's so easy to see something that agrees with you and just run with it, and then not even look at the rest of the stuff. Like not look deeper and just see, oh, this agrees with me. Not look at this. It must be true. We'll keep it pushing. You know what I mean? Because you want to believe what you want to believe. Because your identity, like identity, is wrapped up in beliefs. Like it is, and like everybody. I mean, I don't know what else your identity would be wrapped up in.
Right.
And so when I asked you that question, I was like, but why is it politics? Like I understand religion, like it's like I get religion, it's God, right? Like, but why do people get so wrapped up in like they will literally go to the ends of the earth to follow one person, no matter what, whether on both sides. Like it's hate for Trump or love for Trump, right? But like I don't like. Why wouldn't you? Like why don't you? You know. Maybe it's that people aren't willing or aren't aware of available data.
Yeah,
Or
I mean,
maybe they
sorry, go ahead.
don't believe in the data. It's like fake news.
Yeah, I mean,
it's like, how do you get the right data?
it's like it's complex enough to where it's there's enough data that can be sort of pointed towards both sides. You know, it's like
Yeah.
if you're fully on that right side echo chamber, you know, they have enough data that, you know, the economy is doing amazing. And then if you go on to like a Democratic side or like, you know, literally X versus or X versus Reddit, right? Like X is extremely left side and from the stuff that I've seen. And I try my best to not stay in those echo chambers. I'm sure that they happen, you know, but just the general consensus is, you know, X tends to be more right leaning, like conservative, and then Reddit you'll see is very much more left leaning, liberal, and you'll notice that these two sides can come to the opposite conclusion, and if you don't if you're not hyperactive in looking at it, the data can actually like different data can suggest both outcomes, you know, and so it's not as simple as like I have this opinion. It's not always as simple as I have this opinion.
Yeah.
There's this data right here. I have to either get around it or move my opinion based on it. You know, it's almost like people are really good at construing information to the point to where it can be like proven in a way. And I think another part of it is people aren't like the second part of what you said is like they voted for Trump, and even if he's doing some stuff that they don't fully agree with, like they still have to. They don't want to make a mistake in who they voted on. You know,
They
what
don't
I
want to
mean?
make a mistake.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah. They don't want it
Yeah.
to be their fault that America may be going bad. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that it is. I'm just saying that that's what I think some people think of. And so it's almost like we made our choice, and so I'm gonna be biased towards this guy because if I'm not, then I'm partly responsible for ruining the stuff that he did. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
So it's like, how do you break down those preconceived dogmas? You know what I mean? Like, how do you look at things with a more objective lens?
I would say first off is, I mean, you really got to do a deep dive of your own opinions, like how. And this is sort of hard to do purely personally. I mean, you really have to be hyperactive and understand your mind, but like, how biased are you really towards this guy? And I think it's a lot easier to see externally. Like, if I see somebody talking, I'm like, this guy's clearly biased towards Trump or against Trump or whoever it is. I think it's hard to do personally, but I think it is possible. Like, do I have a strong bias against this person? Like, do I love everything is he doing anything wrong? Like, I know some people who like genuinely believe he's doing nothing wrong at all. And you can make your own. I don't know. It's almost impossible for me to say that the person's done nothing wrong. And so when I hear that, it seems like a clear bias to me. And so noticing those kind of biases internally is step one towards actually trying to be more central and nuanced. You know what I mean? Like understanding these topics. But yeah, man, I think that's a big one. Is just really being hyperactive and the information that you're receiving, like I was talking about earlier with sources,
Yeah.
and also the conclusions that you come to. Are they not just logical based off of facts, but would you say there's a big bias in them? You know, and I know that's hard, and that's harder than it sounds, but
Yeah.
you really got to be hyperactive in that.
I see a lot of people, and I've done this myself in some ways. When people have like preconceived notions or like a dogma, they'll speak in absolutes a lot. Like you just mentioned, like Trump's done nothing wrong. Like that's an absolute statement. Or like I know this to be true, and I'm definitely right.
It's like black and white. There's
Yeah,
only
exactly,
one or the other.
exactly. You see it all the time, and so if you see people speaking in absolute statements like that, like I mean, most religions are fundamentalized on an absolute statement of we're right, and
Yeah.
so
True, true.
in general, it's like I usually try to stray away from those absolutes of like this is this way and it cannot be any other way, no matter what, like pretty much ever, because there aren't too many absolutes in this world, like at all. And there are a couple, I'm sure, but
Yeah, that's
but
true. I mean, religion is
yeah.
a lot of absolutes. That's interesting to think of.
Yeah, for sure.
Hmm. Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of people, and especially our age, tend to sort of just fully give up on politics.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's the right decision either. You know, I mean, there's some people that go full 100% into it, like they take it super, super seriously and everything. And then there's some people that just sort of stop caring about when they hear about politics. And to be honest, like I don't think I got to that full level to where like I didn't want to hear about politics anymore. I still always enjoyed talking about it, but I feel like some people are just sort of losing hope fully in this system, and that's a little bit sad for me.
It's tough. It's really tough because you have to have hope based in something, like based in some sort of something you believe. It's tough. Like what do you think there is to have hope in right now? Like what do you have hope in?
What do I have hope in? I mean, I genuinely like, as opposite as this may sound based on like my conversations and stuff. I may sound cynical, but I truly am. I'm pro humanity. Like I think we'll
Yeah.
figure it out, but I really think that we're in such a baby stage of understanding technology and how we should work in this world. You know what I mean? I mean, if you really think about it, I mean, throughout all of human history, except for a couple of generations. I mean, think about how much technology has advanced just from the 1900s to now compared to the entirety of human history.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a crazy shift. I mean, we were born in that world, and so, we know it's crazy, but we're sort of used to the craziness. I mean, it's been chaos throughout our whole lives. There's always new stuff coming out, but you got to think about how that, like, not just affects the human, but how far we've come and how much we've actually adapted towards it. I mean, I still feel like we have a lot of work to do to actually getting to that point. And I think about that in an optimistic way, as in we're barely just started, you know what I mean? I mean, we'll figure all this out. Like this isn't a reason to give up or a reason to be like, oh, it's too late. Like it's all screwed up, you know. We'll figure it out. We just gotta take some time.
Do you think that the statement "we'll figure it out"? Do you think that it's by definition a delusional statement?
No, I don't think so. I think it's more hopeful than delusional.
Well,
when I say
those
we'll
aren't
figure,
opposites. Hope and delusion are opposites.
elaborate.
Like you can have hope in something that is delusional. I'll give an example because this is
Sure,
this is the only one I can think of as an example of like if you're in a relationship and the girl broke up with you and then you like try to get her back, but like she really broke up with you, like you're definitely not like I really hope this girl gets me back, but I'm being a little bit delusional right now.
Yeah.
I don't think so. Yeah. I
Sure.
don't think those two are opposites.
No, I definitely agree with that. You're right.
Yeah.
Hope and illusion, and yeah, they're not opposites. But no, I don't think it's that delusional of a saying.
Okay.
And I say that because, I mean, first off, it's not like I'm saying that as in there's not going to be a lot of work involved. I think there's a lot of stuff we have to do to get to that point, you know. But I feel like no matter what happens, us as humanity will, I don't want to say figure it out, but we'll be able to adapt and overcome like whatever comes our way. And this has been the case throughout all of humanity's history. And you know, some people would say, you know, that's a hot hands fallacy, as in just because it happened, just because it's been happening doesn't mean it'll continue to happen. But I think that it should be good evidence as well to like, listen, we can adapt as humans and we will survive. We'll figure it out. And that's why I say that, you know, it is a very broad saying, and it also doesn't offer any solutions to how we'll do that, right?
Yeah.
But I don't think that it's delusion in saying that, you know what I mean? I just think that it's sort of an optimistic way of looking at it.
It's
Yeah,
definitely
I mean,
optimistic.
what's the other option? We don't figure it out, right?
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
It's like the only way to look at it.
Yeah.
Like you can't look at it any other way.
Right.
Like, you're gonna give up? Like no. So you have to look at it that way.
Yeah, I mean, my main goal is just to, I still haven't figured out how I'm going to do this yet, but just leave the world better than how I found it. That's really it.
Yeah.
That's it, man. I'd like to advocate whatever business I do, and transparency, man. That's the biggest thing for me. I feel like that's a lot of what miscommunications are nowadays. Is like just, well, I mean, first off, lack of transparency in the data itself. You know, I mean, people are using like parts of data that are, I guess, misconstrued. You know, but I don't know. I see that a lot, that businesses or just bigger organizations, for their own incentives, try their best to not be transparent, and that's just, I think that's more frustrating to me than it should be logical. Like, I should just like kind of let that go, but that's very frustrating to me.
Sure.
It really is, and so maybe if I can leave the world promoting doing something like that, but that's very broad, you know. So we'll see.
It's tough because the reason they do it is because it's easier.
Yeah.
And so I definitely don't think, because it's been done before, that it's impossible to have a business that leads with transparency. It's definitely not impossible, but it's a lot harder. But bro, sign me up for that challenge. You know what I mean? Like, that
Yeah.
sounds like, when I hear that, I'm like, let's freaking go. You know what I mean? Like, that's a challenge I'm willing to take. That sounds fun.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it's such a broad thing that, like, I don't even know what I'm gonna apply that to.
Yeah.
But whatever I do, I will figure that out. You know, we'll figure it out.
Figure it out,
What can
yeah.
I say?
I think that statement has so much freaking merit. It's not even funny.
It really
The
is.
"we'll figure it out" statement.
Yeah.
The Mission Impossible motto, bro.
Really?
They say that every movie. We'll figure it out.
That and it's better than good. It's good enough.
That's
It's my best saying.
That's the
Got
motto.
that from
Yeah.
Community.
Yeah.
Jeff Winger. Love that show. Man. It's such a good show.
All right, buddy.
Oh, well, come on. I
Yeah.
can't even plug my favorite show.
He asked me to watch it, and I never watched it, and he has not let it go. I might as well just watch the show, bro. It
Watch
would've been
it,
less
and I'll
time.
talk about it less.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
It's like you and that Xbox Game Pass card. Bro.
Yeah, tell him about
Oh
it.
my god. So, essentially, I found this game, right? We were looking for new games. I found this game. I'm like, yo, this game looks great. We can play this for only $1, because you
With
can
Xbox,
get,
yeah.
at the time, you could get Xbox Game Pass for a whole month for just $1. And this Game Pass, gives you a ton of games that were on the list. And I show him that, and I don't. It's not it's like you immediately get disinterested. You're like, oh, Game Pass. What were your reasons? Do you remember?
It was because it was like $1 for like the first. I don't know. At the time I was so young. I just didn't like.
Didn't have
purchase-
$1.
Yeah. No, I didn't like purchasing things that I didn't feel like I owned. Like, I didn't like having monthly subscriptions to anything, because I was like, well, I don't own this. I don't have this, Like, I didn't like when somebody would let me borrow their scythe in Terraria, the little scythe that goes through walls in
Yeah,
Terraria,
yeah.
because it's not mine. You know what I mean? I don't know why.
No, I get that, actually. I mean, that's actually that's a big thing going on in the gaming industry, of like actually owning games.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've heard about the Stop Killing Games movement.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
But it's essentially, users are getting frustrated that they'll buy a game, like they'll buy the license for the game, and then in a year or two, the company may be like, listen, we're not getting enough support for this game, so we're just going to shut it down. And even if it's like, there's like single player games or multiplayer games that once they shut those main servers down, you can't even load up the game anymore. Like on single player games. And so
Yeah.
people are obviously, pressed. They're like, I bought the game, why can't I own it? You know what I mean? And as a little kid, bro, you were predicting the future. with
Bro,
that. That's
what
crazy.
I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's a big thing though. I'm curious. Actually, it just recently got enough signatures, not in the USA, but in the European Union. You need 1 million signatures to have your cause actually like forced to be pushed in front of the jury. And I'm not as well versed in European judicial system. Yeah, legislation. But it seems like they're gonna at least be forced to actually look at that now.
Oh.
But the
Guess we're
movement.
moving to the EU.
Yeah. I mean, I know that people can a lot of times misunderstand the movement. It's essentially, people aren't asking for the developers to continue updating the game forever, or to continue keeping those servers on forever. What they really want is like end of life support. So as in, if you're gonna shut your system down, make sure that before you, like while you're making the game, have some sort of plan ready so that you can transfer the servers to the clients, to the actual community themselves, so they can continue the game, or have some way to continue the game past when it's done. So people, like, if I own the game and you take down the servers, I can't play the game anymore. At least have some sort of system in place to where I can either host the servers on my own, or you give the service to somebody else, and that's essentially what the movement is for. I know a lot of people can misunderstand that. And go to their website. I mean, they have a website, they have a YouTube channel. They post all of this stuff, and they actually explain it probably better than I can. So do your own research on that. But that's a big thing. I mean, personally, I'm with them. I totally agree. It's crazy to me that you can buy a single player game, and then all of a sudden, after a year or two, they're just like, oh, we're not making enough money. We're just gonna shut down the servers. It's all done.
Like, if you're gonna sell something, they're gonna have to keep it.
Yeah.
It's not a subscription.
I mean, imagine if you couldn't play your Minecraft single player worlds anymore.
Don't
because
say
they did
that, bro.
Right?
Don't say that, bro. Is that gonna happen someday?
Nah.
GG.
Mojang's amazing with it. I don't know if you've ever done too much of the back end on. I was big into Minecraft. Like, I would actually host servers on my own computer. I mean, they're great with that. I mean, just the fact that you can go onto older updates is, you don't see that on many games.
True. Yeah.
They do great with that. There's a couple of companies that do that like that.
Yeah.
Subnautica is a pretty good game like that too, where the developers really care about the community.
Yeah.
I've noticed a lot with
Epic Games.
Yeah.
They used to.
In some sense, yeah. I don't know if they'll do that with some of those big games. I'm curious about Epic Games. I know Valve is pretty good about that too. Steam, basically. Valve and Steam, they're big on the helping the community side. It's partly the reason why Team Fortress 2 has been able to stay so popular after this many years. It's because you can host your own servers. You can do all of that.
It keeps the game alive. Yeah, and they could. Yeah, that's interesting. I can see both sides, but I definitely agree. I think that, like, if you buy a single player game, you should be able to play the single player game, like, always. Like, what server, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, if you don't, like, forcing the developers to always update the game, obviously that's not what the movement's for. It's just for, like, if I buy this game, I want to be able to play it as long as this is the game I'm trying to play, you know what I mean?
Exactly. And if you are to shut the game down, give us some way to give it to the community, right?
Yeah.
And I don't want to be fully biased on that side as well. Like, there are some things that you have to take into account as developers too, like games that are already out. You can't do that for those. So I think what the movement is saying is any games coming out. And I'm not a developer, and so I'm curious what their sides would be to that case as well. Because I know that that's partly if you know the YouTuber Pirate Software, or I think he's a streamer technically, but YouTuber/streamer influencer. He worked at Blizzard for a couple of months, and he was totally against the movement. And in my opinion, I think he very much misconstrued what the point of the movement was itself. But he was saying, as a developer, like, it's not as easy to just force people to do this. And what the movement was saying was there would be monetary fines to people who didn't do that, and that could screw over smaller games or smaller developers. You know what I mean? Like, if I want to just release a fun game that I put a little bit of time into, and I'm like, I want to shut it down now. Now I'm liable to pay monetary fine.
Sure.
And so I think that there is, like everything in the world, there is nuance to it.
Oh wait, that is interesting. Like, what's the line to where you have? That's so interesting. What do you think? What do you think?
What do you mean? What do I think for what?
Like, what do you think the line is? Like, if you're a small creator and you just release a game, but now you're expected to keep it up. Now you have to keep it up for the rest of forever. Like,
I think that if the customer, and I'd like to put more thought in this as well, but if the customer is paying for the game, you should have some sort of system to allow them to own it.
Gotcha.
Like, if it's a free...
So that's a regulation change that they're asking for.
And that's actually very importantly why games like Fortnite are free, because it's a service that you borrow, right? If you actually read the licenses, some of them say, like, you own this game until 20XX, a certain time. But Fortnite says that we reserve the right at any time to take these services away. You don't own this game. You're borrowing our service.
Bro, tell that to the people who spent like $500 on skins in that video game.
Yeah, I mean, you ever think about why Fortnite's free? That's partly a big reason why. It's because they want to keep ownership of the game. And that actually makes sense. I mean, that
I
in my
get
opinion,
that.
that's a fair trade.
Yeah, yeah, I'm down for that.
I'm not
If it's
paying for
free.
anything, so I'm not owning the game. But
Unless
I think
it's a Renegade Raider.
Renegade Wade. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Man,
Do they own the Renegade Raider at that point? Do they have the IP?
that's a good point. I mean, I bet microtransactions are in a whole different legal
Yeah.
ballpark than actual buying games is. Though.
You think?
I
Because
would
what's the
think
difference
so.
between buying a game and buying a Renegade Raider?
Well, that's a good point. I mean, I
Like,
guess you are owning the
if-
skin itself.
Yeah, like
but
if you compare those two, which I don't know if it's fair to compare those two, but if you do for a second, like saying I want to own this game is the same thing as like I want to own this skin. Like when Fortnite goes down, I still want to play this skin. What does that even mean? You know what I mean?
Or even think about microtransactions like Clash of Clans, where you buy a building that's specifically you have to pay for
You
it.
buy
know?
gems.
Yeah, yeah. Or like if this. It's a good point. I don't know. It's
Like you buy currency in another game to buy things in that game.
right. I mean, I guess you own the skin, right?
But
And
not really.
but not really. That's a good point.
Yeah.
I wonder. I wonder what Stop Killing Games would say about something like that.
If
I think they're
you're
more
if
focused
you're the
on.
CEO of the movement, please comment down below and get your entire team to also comment down below and subscribe. And go to our other channel and do the same.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. While you're on YouTube,
While
dog.
you're here, while you're here.
Exactly.
You got YouTube open. The link's in the description. I think while you're here.
That's funny.
While
man.
you're here.
Yeah, I mean the only real thing you can do is try to support those movements, do what you can, and then just support the developers that you feel are doing it right. I
Yeah.
mean, there's not much else you can do.
The same is true in the animation industry too.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm not a European, so I can't sign the signature. I
that's-
think it's already at like 1.4 million,
Oh,
which is
good.
crazy. Yeah, I already passed the million, luckily. So I can't really do that, but I can support the developers that I feel are doing it right, and also not support the developers that I feel like are doing it wrong.
Sick, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, make your own judgments on what companies you feel are like that. I have my own opinions, but I'm not gonna air out. I mean,
All right. I'm down to call it here.
yeah, that's pretty much.
All right. Thank you guys for watching. We appreciate it very dearly. Thank you to each and every one of you. Yeah, we upload podcasts every Thursday and then videos on our main channel every fortnight, except for this one because, you know,
Stay safe, stay healthy,
stay
guys.
healthy, constraining issues. Okay, all right, see ya. Bye,
Bye. Let's go.
peace.
Man, that was a fun one. That went quick.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.